She was betrayed by the man she loved, mocked by the woman he cheated with, but instead of crying, she smiled, because destiny was already planning her revenge in silence. Wait till the end. You won't believe how karma turned everything around. Collision. Subscribe now for more emotional, powerful stories that will touch your heart and blow your mind. Amara had always believed that love could heal everything, until the night she stood in the cold rain, watching her husband, Ryan, laugh with his mistress under the golden lights of the restaurant where they'd once celebrated their anniversary. Her hands trembled as she clutched the divorce papers he'd thrown at her that morning, his words echoing in her head. You're too ordinary, Amara. I need someone exciting, someone like her. The her was Zara, Amara's former best friend, a woman she'd trusted with her secrets, her pain, her joy, and now, the same woman who wore her husband's love like a trophy. But instead of screaming or collapsing, Amara smiled through the storm. She whispered to herself, let's see who destiny truly favors. The next morning, when Ryan emptied their joint bank account and kicked her out of their home, Amara walked away quietly, no tears, no pleas, only calm fire in her eyes. She had nothing left except her intelligence, her degree in finance, and the faint memory of a business card she'd once been given by a man she met months ago, a man with eyes like quiet storms and a voice that could command boardrooms, Alexander Knight, the CEO of Knight Global Enterprises. She had met him briefly at a charity gala, where she'd helped an old lady after she fainted, unaware that the woman was Alexander's mother. He had approached her with gratitude, offering his card, saying, if you ever need help, Ms. Amara, don't hesitate to call. That memory now flickered in her mind like a hidden light in darkness. With trembling hands, she dialed the number. When Alexander's deep voice answered, her heart skipped. Mr. Knight, this is Amara. There was silence, then warmth. I remember you. Are you okay? She hesitated, then whispered, no, but I will be. That single call changed her fate. The next day, she walked into Knight Global as a financial consultant, sharp, calm, and determined. Everyone underestimated her, but Alexander didn't. He saw the quiet steel in her eyes. Days turned into weeks, and under his guidance, Amara transformed. She immersed herself in work, her analytical skills dazzling the board, and soon, whispers began. Who is this woman who caught the CEO's attention? Alexander admired her strength, not just her beauty. He noticed how she carried pain with grace. One evening, when he found her working late, chairs silently falling over spreadsheets, he simply placed a handkerchief on her desk and said, some people break when betrayed, but you, Amara, you rebuild empires. His words became her strength. Meanwhile, Ryan's world began to crumble. Zara's charm faded as she grew greedy, demanding luxuries he couldn't sustain after Amara's departure. The business Amara once managed for Ryan slowly collapsed without her. Debts piled up, investors withdrew, and rumors of fraud started spreading. But Ryan's arrogance blinded him, until the day he discovered that the new firm buying his assets was none other than Knight Global Enterprises, and the financial strategist leading the acquisition was Amara Malik. His breath froze when he saw her walk into the boardroom, elegant, poised, wearing a navy suit and quiet smile. Amara, he stammered. She tilted her head, her eyes calm. Mrs. Malik doesn't exist anymore, she replied softly. It's Ms. Amara, Knight Global Consultant now. Ryan tried to smile, tried to charm, but his words fell flat against her. Silence. Alexander entered moments later, his presence commanding. When he placed his hand lightly at the small of Amara's back, the entire room understood. She wasn't alone anymore. The meeting ended with Ryan signing away the company he'd stolen from her efforts, and when he left, Zara followed, hurling blame and insults. Outside, they fought in public, their love collapsing into chaos. Amara watched from the glass window, not with vengeance, but quiet justice. Months passed, and she flourished under Alexander's mentorship. What began as professional respect slowly blossomed into something deeper. Late-night strategy meetings turned into long conversations about life, pain, and healing. Alexander was powerful, yes, but with her, he was gentle. He once confessed, when I saw you rise from ashes, I realized strength isn't loud, it's silent and unshakable, just like you. Their bond deepened, and for the first time, Amara felt seen, not as a wife, not as a victim, but as a woman of worth. One stormy night, Alexander invited her to his mother's estate, the same woman Amara had once helped. The old lady smiled warmly, saying, "I told him, son, marry the woman who restores your faith, not the one who breaks your peace." Alexander turned to Amara then, eyes filled with sincerity, and said, "You once said you'd be okay. I want to make sure you never have to say that alone again." Tears welled in her eyes as she realized life had finally given her a miracle born of pain. Their engagement became the talk of the city, and the press soon learned the backstory, the betrayed wife who rose to power and captured the heart of the nation's most powerful CEO. Meanwhile, Ryan's downfall became public humiliation. His mistress, Zara, left him when he was declared bankrupt. Desperate and drunk, Ryan showed up at Amara's engagement gala, causing a scene, shouting apologies, begging for forgiveness. Cameras flashed, reporters whispered, but Amara simply stepped forward and looked him in the eye. "You once said I was too ordinary," she said softly, her voice steady as the crowd hushed. "Maybe ordinary women build extraordinary strength when they're broken." Then she turned away, hand in hand with Alexander, as Ryan collapsed in tears. The next day, headlines exploded, betrayed wife turned CEO queen, her ex now begs for mercy. But behind the glamour, Amara remained humble. She used her wealth to open foundations for women starting over after betrayal, turning her pain into purpose. Alexander stood beside her always, proud and protective, calling her the heartbeat of Night Global. One day, when they visited an orphanage her foundation sponsored, a little girl asked, "Miss Amara, how did you become so strong?" Amara knelt, smiled, and whispered, "Because once, I lost everything, and that taught me I already had everything I needed, myself." That moment became viral on social media, inspiring millions. Years later, Ryan worked as a low-level accountant, barely surviving, haunted by what he'd lost. He'd often see Amara and Alexander's faces on magazines, their love a symbol of power and resilience. One rainy evening, the same kind of night she was once thrown out, Ryan saw Amara's billboard glowing above the city skyline, "From Pain to Power, Amara Knight Foundation." He whispered to himself, "I should have never let her go." But it was too late. In her office, Amara stared out the window as thunder rolled, remembering the girl she used to be, broken, crying, forgotten. She smiled softly, feeling Alexander's arms wrap around her from behind. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "Just how strange life is," she said. "Once, I begged for love, now, love found me when I stopped begging." He kissed her forehead, whispering, "That's because you became the storm they couldn't survive." The rain outside eased into dawn, and as sunlight touched her face, Amara closed her eyes in peace. The woman once provoked, humiliated, and betrayed had become a queen in her own right, powerful, compassionate, untouchable. And somewhere deep inside, she whispered to her past self, "You made it."